All right, let's go. Good morning. Good morning. How are we doing on this fine 1 week and 1 day? 1 week and 1 day until the three-peat begins. The three-peat attempt. Screw it. I said it right the first time. Until the defense of our second Stanley Cup final in a row begins. We've got what an incredible turn of events, right? Just not what anybody was hoping for, what anybody was expecting. It was one thing when Kachuk was out, but now just thinking about the team being out there, no Barkov, no Kachuk, it's when you think about it, it sounds pretty bad. But we won the cup last year while Chucky had one leg. So there is that. And like I said at the end of the video that I made last week, challenge accepted. It is you know what I mean. As long as nobody else gets injured, right? Knock on solid wood over here. As long as the rest of the team stays relatively healthy, we know Ekblad's going to miss his couple of games, right? I see Stolar's got his extension, and I guess that has Leaf fans feeling like they're the next team up. Okay, look. How can I put this? I understand the idea the Leaf fans might have because, right, they took us to 7 games, took the Cats to 7 games, but they did lose Marner, and for the Leafs losing Marner, that's at least them losing one of Barkov or Kachuk. Their version of, you know what I mean, in terms of importance to the team. So I just have still plenty of confidence in this team. We've been through too much. Those of us especially who have been around since the beginning, however old you are, since as young as you could be, following this team. I don't view this as dark days or something like that. You know what I mean? Got a hell of a challenge ahead of us trying to win a third cup in a row. I think we would have all taken that. So let's blow up the chat, see what I got here. Hungry, how we doing, bud? Yeah, the Marlins did the funny thing again. Yeah, Kyle was telling me. Queens is currently saltier than the Salt Flats. Kyle told me about that. Yeah. Hey, Braves fan. Trade for McDavid. Well, probably not. Probably not. Right? McDavid would have to demand a trade and then tell Zito that he'd sign for like $10 million. Like even worse than that. It would have to be a sign and trade. They'd have to give McDavid an extension at like 10 million, and then Edmonton would have to retain, and they still can't have Samoskevich. So no thanks. Dylan wants to know, would Barkov be able to bring the cup out for the banner rise? Probably not. Probably not. That cup weighs a few pounds, right? And they ain't wheeling him out there in a wheelchair to do it. So no, that's going to fall to Ekblad, Dylan. I would suspect. Hey, Silva says bad news. Keeping the team healthy means keeping Ekglass. I like the Ekglass healthy. So we will unfortunately not be able to do that. Hey, as long as he's around for the playoffs. I don't mind if he takes off, if he misses the last 20-something games like he did last year. He seemed to be good and fresh. Exactly, Braves fan. We still got a lot of dogs. Hey, Vincent. Stop sabotaging our team. I have a cursed tongue and an evil eye. I got 2 evil eyes. Just ask all of my exes. Hey, Bill. Says, what if this is the year Lundell takes a big step up? 100% agree. I totally agree. It's going to look different. And I think that's the one thing that Maurice has said. It's going to look different. But different doesn't necessarily mean worse. It could just look different. He was talking about the Rodriguez, Boquist, Samoskevich line about being more of a speed line. So I'm curious to see how they get used. Both Bennett and Marchand have been talking about how Mackey looks amazing out there. So I can't wait to see him out there on the ice. Al says, so can the Panthers replace Barkov, or are they leaving the spot open, hoping he can return in the playoffs? So long and short of it is that we don't have to decide what we're doing with Barkov until Tkachuk comes back, because it's going to affect the salary cap. We'll just basically put it that way. We're okay right now because, both guys are out. Okay, well, we're okay because Tkachuk is out, but obviously we're better than that now. So, one thing that might end up happening, depending on how the math works out and how it all goes, you could see Chucky wait another extra week or two in case they're not ready to make the Barkov call. I'm not even going to try to guess. What is it? October, November, December. I mean, I think you would kind of figure if Chucky's not coming back till at the earliest mid-December or maybe January, I think by then they would know if Barkov is way ahead of schedule or not. So if they decide that this is where we are. If they decide that Barkov, we're going to hold off and hope that he can come back from the playoffs, then we're only going to get so much cap space. Now, we may be able to finish the season with Barkov not in the lineup and be cap compliant because of his money. But we would still have a problem with the full roster when Barkov comes back. So now the way that it's worded for the playoff roster is that you can have as many guys on your roster as you want. You can be as over the cap as you want. But for the lineup that you submit for any individual playoff game, that lineup has to be cap compliant. So, I mean, I don't want to get too intricate into the math right now, but I just kind of feel like I wonder if there's a scenario where we can keep Rodriguez, but then come playoff time, he has to be on the inactive roster. He won't be able to play in games unless somebody else is out. It's really weird that the way that they've worded it, as far as I could read into it. I got to look more into it, but I don't think it's as cut and dry as the whole everybody has to be cap compliant. I think it's just about the lineup that you submit for any individual game. Exactly, Guitar Crow. Hard to complain at this point, right? Guitar, I haven't seen a Dangle comment, but I'm sure they did. I'm sure, right? Vincent. Hey, Vincent, let's just put it this way. They didn't make it to the Stanley Cup until I started predicting they were going to win the cup. So you got to take the good with the bad, right? Yeah, I think I agree there, Ricardo. The Leafs got a good bargain on Stolars if he can continue to play that way. Yeah. So it says, hear me out. First line, Lundell, Lucy, Reinhardt. Second line, Bennett, Samos, Bennett. Oh, no, you can't. Samoskevich isn't going to center. Where's your centers? You're confused. You got to have centers. I see. You've got the centers there in the beginning. Okay, I see what you did. Bennett, Samoskevich. So Bennett was Samoskevich, Rodriguez, third line. Boquist with Verhaeghe and Marsh. Yeah, I mean, look, Maurice is going to try a lot of different lineups, right? Yeah, so Hungary and Damien talking about Kuznetsov. I mean, I don't. If everybody's healthy, if the whole roster is healthy except for Barkov, Bennett, Reinhart, Verhaeghe, Lundell, Luosterainen, and Marchand, Rodriguez with Tkachuk and Samoskevich. Where's the need? Especially for somebody like Kuznetsov. If you're going to go get Crosby and put him at center instead of Rodriguez and move things around, okay. But for an extra winger, who are you moving? Who do you want to remove from that lineup? Bennett with Reinhart and Verhaeghe, Lundell, Luosterainen, Marchand, Rodriguez with Tkachuk and Samoskevich. I'm good. I say roll with it and see what happens. You know what I mean? I don't think that's just my opinion. Axu says Lehkonen, Finnish hockey expert and coach, comments that it may take a year and a half for Barkov is back in the condition he was before the injury. I mean, sometimes it takes guys a while to become themselves again. There's no doubt. Yeah, exactly, Vincent. Don't forget the cap applies to the iced team. You can still have Barkov and Crosby on a 23-man roster. Sure. Right. It's weird the way it's worked. Braves, everyone becomes the center before it's over, right? Putting Chucky at center. Jeez. I don't want to see Chucky taking face-offs. No. Hungry says, I'll keep banging this drum. If we do need to get someone, it should be Alex Tuck, unless he resigns with Buffalo. I mean, if we get another injury, then we have a problem. Right? But honestly, at this point, I'm curious to see what happens. I really am. I mean, if we're ever going to be in a position where we're playing with house money and, all right, let's see what Lundell and Luosterainen can do in the top six, there you go. You know what I mean? Any combination of possibility of events is possible with this lineup. I've seen, of course, there's going to be the talk on Twitter about, well, now that Barkov is gone, who's the best team in the East? It's like, it's still the Panthers. It's still the Panthers. Did it get closer? I guess. Right? I guess. But as much of a role Barkov plays, everybody follows. Everybody plays the same way. He's just really good at what he does. Now, of course, there's things that he can do that a lot of guys on this team can't do. But there's also some things that guys on this team can do that we haven't seen yet. You've seen just a sliver of it with Lundell, Luosterainen, and Marchand. Remember, that was against top competition in the playoffs. So some random Thursday night, against the Sabres, that line could freaking dominate. Silva says he should just get his rest. We can make the playoffs without him coming back right early and out of show. I agree, Silva. Yeah. Actually says if we're playing well before January, just let Tkachuk rest. Hey, Petraro. Oh, nice. Very cool. Very good, buddy. Vincent says, wait as long as they're going to wait as long as they can. If they get Crosby, that means Barkov is not going to be ready to be himself. Maybe getting it for a game or two like Stamkos did. No point speculating now. Right. Yeah, I mean, this is the lineup we have. And like I said, any combination of number of things could happen. If somebody else goes down, then, maybe you start to get a little bit more concerned. But hell, man, these guys, I say roll with what we have. If that's the top 9 that we have, that's what it is. Would I like maybe an upgrade in terms of a more traditional center at 3C than Rodriguez? Yeah, sure. But then where the hell are you going to put him? At 4C? Put him on the 4th line? I want Greer and Gadjevich out there as much as possible. I guess you could put Rodriguez at 4C, but you're not going to be real physical. So, but we'll see. It depends on Nosek. And it depends on Cunningham, how he plays, and a couple of these other guys. It's just going to be a lot of questions that are getting answered over time, unfortunately. Hunger says dream scenario would be Lundell steps up and his ceiling is a lot higher than previously thought. Yeah, I think that could happen. Luosterainen too. I feel like we know those guys can lock it down defensively, but they've never really been given. We've never really had the need for them to step up all that much offensively until this past playoff run, and you've seen what they did. Case says we objectively got worse without Barkov. It's just the truth. We still have a really damn good team that could take another step. Shutting down elite talent in the playoff series is what I'm worried. Well, remember, Case, a lot of that shutting down of those guys came from Lundell and Luosterainen. They've proven they could do it. So Bill says my lines are Lundell, Reinhart, Marchand, Bennett, Verhaeghe, Samoskevich. Then what do you got then? You got Rodriguez with Luosterainen and Boqvist now, right? I'm not sure about Marchand up top, though. I'm already a little bit queasy about him being 37 on the second line when he looked so good in the third last year. Lil J, yeah, we're going to need Swaggy and Reinhart now. That's for sure, to put pucks in the back of the net. Yeah. Silva says, I just want to point out how wild it is that as Panther fans, we're debating the logistics of trading for Sidney freaking Crosby. I mean, it's very true. It's very true. Right? Now, and I say this in jest, but my only concern about trading for Crosby is next year. Who's going to wing? Who's going to play wing? Does Crosby want to play on Barkov's wing? Are we going to have Barkov with Reinhart and Crosby? Because you still got Bennett and Lundell. If you put Crosby at center, what are you going to do? You're going to have a 4th line of Lundell, Luosterainen, and Marchand? They won't even play this season. They just give us the cup right then and there. So that's the only – and, of course, if you take on Crosby's salary, you better be sure Bob's going to take a big pay cut. Case, why would you put Samo with more minutes than E2? I would think Bill says Luosterainen as third line center. Yeah, I mean that's one place that's one thing that could happen too. Samoskevich is his speed case is what I would argue, and I don't want to split Lundell, Luosterainen, and Marchand either. But I think at some point, if we get into a rut at some point in the season, You're going to see that happening. We also, we got to pay attention to how Bennett's going to do defensively. Actually says we saw the playoffs during the playoffs between Boquist and Eron in the fourth line compared to Greer and Gadjevic's night and day. Yeah, no doubt. Hey, Patel, how you doing, bud? Right, exactly what Braves fan is saying. So Lundell was matched up against 97 in the finals at times, so I'm not concerned. Yeah, I'm more. You had Barkov and Lundell. Now it's just Lundell. So to me, it's going to be about you get into the playoffs, and if you're not, because the other part to that is Tkachuk coming back, right? So if you don't want to break up Lundell, Luostarinen, this is another way it could go. If you don't want to break up Lundell, Luostarinen, and Marchand, at some point during the season, if you decide, okay, Barkov's not coming back, we could simply just, if you traded for Crosby or somebody that is a legitimate upper echelon 2C and go back to Bennett, new guy, and Lundell because Tkachuk's coming back. Because when Tkachuk comes back, you're going to be faced with the decision of, do you want Tkachuk on the third line? Or are you going to break up Lundell, Luostarinen, and Marchand? But of course, who knows what's going to happen in between that period of time. And of course, like some people have mentioned, there's also the possibility of Luostarinen at center, especially if we need somebody, to play a little bit of a stronger, heavier game at 3C. You could see that line get mixed up with Luostarinen at 3C. I'm sure Maurice is going to try all the different combinations. Hungry, yeah. I don't know. Most people don't want Malkin, though. Yeah, Braves fan, you say Crosby in the fourth line? Just trade for both of them, right? Oh, I know. The game ended in a freaking tie. Silva. Maybe we could save Pasta, but we're going to need something. Either we need another winger or another center, or we just leave it. If Rodriguez can do the job at 3C defensively, then I think we're good. The only question is going to be, where do you want to put Tkachuk when he comes back? Vincent says the problem is when 97 is matched against Ekblad, he's such a fanboy, he just falls in front of him. Hey, Mr. Vids. I like Cowabunga's idea. He says, guys, Zito needs a challenge in order to win a GM award. Let him cook now for the chest. I mean, he's earning his pay right now because you have everything. I mean, I've been saying this for years, but now it's really true. Every single solitary move we make is like this giant Jenga pile. And I'm going to die on this hill. But I wish that we could get Bobrovsky's extension done so we know what numbers we're dealing with next year, especially if we have to trade for a guy with term. It's going to have an effect next year. If you trade for Crosby, even if Pittsburgh retains some, you may have to tell Bob, look, you can only take $7 million. So I really feel like I wish they would get Bobrovsky's extension done, get Mikkola's extension done, so we know the numbers that we're dealing with before we go making any trades. because otherwise, and I'm sure I'm going to assume Zito is thinking about it that way, because it's all one big. It's not a mess, but it's the two injuries combined. The two injuries combined with the NHL going, hey, why don't we watch this? The new rules are applying now with the new LTIR rules applying now, and we get the two injuries and no sick too. There may come a time where no six money at LTIR could actually help us out if we decided he's not going to come back this year. For some reason, TSN really thinks we're going to go after Kaprizov. I don't know why we would do that. I mean, look, before Barkov got hurt, we already knew we had too many guys when Tkachuk came back. So I get it, right? We're the champs. So like every name that's out there is going to be associated with us. But I mean, the only thing that I could think of, if you wanted to get a guy instead of Boquist, right? But then you're still going to be in a position where Tkachuk comes back. You don't want to have to take Sam Miskevich off the ice. Brace fan, Greer, Crosby, and Gadjevich. I'll take it, man. Hockey Dave says ultimate troll move was to have Marchand talk Bergeron out of retirement and sign a team-friendly deal to win another cup together. That's crazy. Colin, yeah, Lamar's my quarterback too. Hey, Mr. Viz, I'm happy without a Patstead, right? Hey, you'll take it. Bill says top line, Lundell, Reinhart, Tkachuk. And then that would put Bennett with Verhaeghe and Marchand. Graves, yeah, not a mess, just a puzzle, right? Exactly. Silva, you'd like to get Kaprizov. We don't have any money. Even next year, the money's going to get dinged up. Even if the cap goes up to $8.5 million, you got to pay Mikkola. He's going to get what? At least $4, right? Right? I mean, you're going to give, even on a team-friendly Panthers deal, you figure Mikkola is going to get $4. We got to pay Sam Miskevich too. That's the other one. Greer gonna win the Maurice Richard Trophy with Crosby at center. It's Frosty. What do I think about Kuznetsov? I'm not interested in anybody right now, unless his name is Sidney Crosby, and it doesn't require Sam Miskevich going the other way. Until and unless we know, because let's face it, if they trade for Crosby, it probably means Barkov's not coming back, right? But until we know really if Barkov is coming back, I'm not interested. Yeah. I got you, Silva. Hey, Kachucking around. Yeah, I hear what you're saying about the standings, right? The Jets Finns will play no defense. That's probably a good prediction. What if we get a time machine and get a young Gretzky? Is there anybody that's recently retired? Well, Bergeron. I mean, he missed, how many years has he been done? 1 or 2? Yeah, Chavasi, you heard Zito was interested. I mean, you know my opinion on the reporting that goes on. I don't believe most of what I hear, but when I think about it, I just think, well, why would we do that? Right? Like, we can't To me, I just don't think we're adding players until and unless they've made the decision about Barkov, because there's a huge difference in salary and the financial aspect of things. Yeah, Bergeron 1-year deal. He's been out 2 years, right? At least. I mean, if he had only been out to 1 year, maybe, but if he's been out 2 years, what's Yager doing? What's Yager doing? I want a line of Yager, Marchand, to Kachuk. Bergeron went out in 23. Yeah, so he's been out for a while. He's probably settled into the dad bod and everything at this point. He probably couldn't survive a Paul Maurice camp. It would be funny though, Well, it's just gonna to me, honestly, it just depends on how Rodriguez can do it 3C defensively. How's that whole third line going to be defensively? And how are we going to make up for the fact that it ain't going to be Lundell, Luostarinen, and Marchand? Because when Kachuk comes back, if you just plop him there and you still make it Rodriguez, Samoskevich with Kachuk, I don't know that that's the best usage, because Kachuk's not going to keep up with those two. Yeah, come on, Connor, join the dark side, right? Kachuk says Kachuk probably will return before the estimate now that they don't have to milk the injury to build Roddy's trade value. It actually could be longer, because they may not be able to bring Kachuk back until they know which way they're going to work the cap situation for Barkov. Because once you make the decision is final. You can't change it. So you can't say, well, we're putting him on LTIR, but he might come back for the playoffs, and then change it later to be like, well, he's not coming back, so we want the full 10. So we have a little bit of extra time, but we have to make the Barkov decision when Kachuk comes back. Stolarz, I think it's a good deal all the way around. I think it's a good deal all the way around. I know some Leaf fans, between that and Barkov and everybody, I see some Leaf fans on Twitter. I mean, and I say this with empathy and I say this with sympathy, but you would think by now that Leaf fans would be like, you know what? I'm not getting my hopes up. Let's just see what happens. But it seems like every year you get a specific percentage of the Leaf fans that are like, that's it. This is our year. It's a guarantee. And they're like already laughing at the Panthers that we've already lost. And it's just like, have you not been paying attention to your own life? Like, how many times of banging your head up against that wall, bloody and bruised, you just wait. You're like, man, let's see if somebody opened up the door instead of me banging my head on this wall. But there they are, making fun of the Panthers and saying that the division is ours, the conference is ours, the cup is ours. It's just wild. It's a wild experiment in human psychology, man. Good point, Hockey Dave. Dad bod, never stop Phil the Thrill Kessel. Yeah. And I agree with Vincent. The only obvious issues I see are face-offs and PK. Yeah, especially face-offs. Especially face-offs. It's going to be a lot of extra energy expenditure for some guys, which is another concern. Would I be interested in Kyle Connor in free agency? I don't know. I mean, I look at the team. Everybody's signed, right? I mean, everybody's signed, and I don't have any interest in moving off any of our guys right now. You know what I mean? Now, I know Rodriguez may not be here, right? Is this the last year of his contract, right? So, but as Samoskevich develops, Rodriguez is kind of the odd man out anyway. But I think we'll come out of the gates slow. Actually, no. I don't think they will. I think they might dip after the first couple of weeks. But I think we'll come out extra motivated now without Barkov. And then I think as we put on film what we're going to look like, I think at that point, some teams might be able to make some adjustments that we're going to have to adjust to. Paul Maurice is going to have to really coach this team. Not that he doesn't, but many times we've heard him say, the locker room, they know what they're doing. They just run the team. He's going to have, there's going to have to be different ways, different things that we do, different strategies that we use, because you just can't, you don't have the luxury now. Barkov's line is struggling a little bit against McDavid. Let's just put the Lundell line out there. Like, you don't have two of those shutdown lines anymore. You got one. And it's a huge difference between the defensive capability at the third line of Lundell, Lusteroy, and Marchand than of Rodriguez with Bohlquist and Samoskevich. So that third line, they're going to need to score some goals. Like, he's going to have to basically tell Samoskevich, shoot. Not that you need to tell Mackey to shoot, but we're going to need some extra goals out of that third line to make up for the fact that they're not going out there and shutting down McDavid like the Lundell line did. Hockey Dave, that's what peak male physical performance looks like. Yeah, Granlund's making $7 million. Somebody had brought up a good name. We talked about this last week. Hold on a second. Somebody had brought up a good name here. Yeah, Adam Lowry. I forget who it was that brought this name up. He's from what I can see with his ice time, it looks like he's playing second line minutes, third line minutes, probably second line. Is this who it was? Yeah. Is this who it was? Was it Adam Lowry? I believe so. I think he's in the last year of his deal. Yeah. Yeah, so Adam Lowry's in the last year of his deal right now, and his cap hit is 3.25. And I mean, his stats are good. I mean, he's perennial, 10, 15 goal guy. I believe this is who it was that somebody mentioned. How many points do you think we'll end up with? I mean, what we ended with, like 98 last year? It kind of feels like it'll be about the same, Don't forget that when we won the President's Trophy, I mean, we scored a lot of goals, right? The defense wasn't so good, right? But we were winning games 6-4 and 7-3 all over the place. The point being is that we have guys that can put the puck in the back of the net. I mean, that's Barkov's one big year offensively. He had 39 goals. The Jets, Colin, plays for Winnipeg. Kachukin says the D-core is extremely elite now. If they can keep shots on goal under control and keep the lanes clear, Bob's stats will look a lot better. Right, Granlund could be interested to play for a series contender instead of the rebuilding Ducks. I mean, they're all names that Real says, so did we sign Crosby, Brady, and Pasta yet? You know, and let's not pretend that these teams are just gonna like Pittsburgh. If you're Pittsburgh, like we already got Marchand for basically peanuts. I'm gonna tell you the one name that if you call Pittsburgh and you want to talk about Crosby, because we know the first name all these teams are going to say is Samoskevich. And our answer to that is this. That ain't happening. What about Cooper Black? If you don't want to give up Devine, you don't want to give up, I mean, some of these other guys, we like them. Benning, we like him, but he's not the biggest guy. You know, what if they want Cooper Black? And picks, I'm sure. So the point being is they ain't just going to give us these guys for free. You know, and we're out of first round picks. We're kind of at that point where, you know, if we keep trying to trade for people, we're going to have to give up players. And unless the name on the return is McDavid, you can't give up Samoskevich. And we ain't trading for McDavid. So that's why I say that. And, you know, again, like I'm saying about next year, cap issues. You can go get a guy, but if he's going to screw with your cap, you know, we don't want to trade for somebody that means we can't re-sign Mikkola, or we can't give, you know, we got to pay Samoskevich, right? Samoskevich took a 1 year, he took a pay cut. Okay. So you can pretty much guarantee that there's a handshake agreement there that, hey, kid, next year we're going to have plenty of cap. We're going to take care of you. You know, so I just don't feel like these guys are going to make any big moves. I know it's good to talk, fun to talk about it and all of that. But, and then, like I said, even if you did get Crosby, who's playing wing next year? I mean, Barkov, Crosby, and Reinhart. I mean, I think we would all take that, right? You'd have to put some, but you'd still be, you know, when you look at this team, when we're healthy, there's no better top nine. And so for me, Colin says he's listed on IR right now. Ah, that sucks. Didn't know that. Yeah, he would be a versatile fit from what I've seen for sure. But if he's on IR, that's a whole different ball of wax. So I don't want to say I'm excited that Barkov is out. It's not what I mean to say. But I am excited to see what these guys can do under this. This is some heavy-duty challenge pressure. Like, you've been to 3 cups in a row. Not just that you won the 2, but you've been to 3 in a row. And now your captain, some people feel he's the best player in the game's out. The whole personality of the team and Tkachuk that got turned around, he's out. Your 4C, who really set the tone last year in the playoffs when he came in, out. Right? So the challenge that these guys face right now, I can only imagine that they are chomping at the bit to prove that they're still themselves, and that, you know, the more people that we see on social media, the more videos about how, Panthers are done now. We know they see that. The Panthers are not one of those teams that don't see what's on social media. They see it. And so good. I say keep counting them out. Keep doing that. Because I just can't. I can't change my expectations for this team. You know, they were already at the point where it's like you're playing with all the house money. There's no pressure to win, but it's just a whole completely different set of challenges now. Now it's not just about can you get the 4 straight and how much hockey you've played and, what's the motivation? Are you still just as hungry as you were? Now all that's been tossed out the window. And instead of focusing on winning a 3rd straight cup, their focus is singularly now as individuals and as a team is, okay, how can we get better? Because now we have to. Barkov being out has kind of taken any laissez-faire, any kind of, laziness that would have maybe crept up into their attitude because we've got 2 cups, it's all right. Barkov being out has immediately wiped those 2 cups from the memory bank in terms of when they step out on the ice. It will no longer in those players' minds be about, well, we got our 2 cups. We didn't have our energy tonight. That's okay. We know what we're doing. That's gone now. That's gone now. And replaced is going to be a day-to-day type of challenge where it's like, okay, this is what's working. This is what's not working. We have to get better. We have to find different ways to score and different ways to play defense. And in the end, I think it can make this team better than they were. Every team has its own personality. And yeah, Barkov being out is going to change things. But that doesn't mean it has to be worse. I got to go turn my air conditioner on. I'll be right back. It's almost October, and it's still warm and humid. All right. Real. Yeah, I think Bergeron, how old? Bergeron was old when he retired, right? How old is Bergeron? Come on, guys. I think wasn't he like close to 40 already? Yeah, he's 40 now. He's 40 now, and he hasn't played in 2 full seasons. His stats didn't really go down, right? When he retired, God, his face-off percentage. That's the thing. Can you still take face-offs? It would take him what? 6 months to get into hockey shape? Like if he's just been sitting on his couch doing nothing like that, it's going to take him like 6 months to get into Paul Maurice hockey shape, at least. I don't know, guys. If he'd only been out of the game 1 year, I might consider it a remote possibility. But in 2 years, it's kind of like, I think he's really retired. You know what I mean? It's not Tom Brady. I think he's really retired. Kachukin says, everyone learning to play without Barkey is something the team has lacked. If they can be competitive and without Barkey, this team would be unstoppable. That's it. Now, Hockey Guy made a video, and I guess last year without Barkov, I guess we were 7-7-1. I think that was the numbers, basically 500. How many of those games that he missed last year were when Tkachuk was out at the end of the year, though? When did he miss that time? Kazuma, yeah, we seen the articles about Kuznetsov. Bill called me on that. I told him don't do it. So I don't think that's going to happen. The puppets told me no. I really want to see what we got. I really want to see what we got. You know? And, hey, look. I mean, last year, let's not leave out Boquist. So, last year, all I did was bitch and complain about Boquist, and some of you said, he's a good player. He's going to get his chance now. Landeskog missed like 3 seasons. It's a good question. How many were out without Eki? Yeah. Hey, thank you, Frank. Thank you, brother. Thank you, Frank. He says, I'm looking forward this season is to see Lundell take a massive step forward. If he's our future center, he needs to show it. If he has the skills and grit, we know that from watching him in the playoffs. Yeah, I agree with Frank 100%. To me, the only reason I would be worried about that line at all is cumulatively over the course of the season, can Marchand still play second-line minutes? Because remember, he kills penalties too. So Marchand's going to need to be in shape. Lay off the ice cream, Brad. It's not good for you. Thank you, Frank. We'll just get Florida to play 1C. No, we're going to be okay. But like I said about Boquist, I mean, I bitched and complained about him all last year. He's kind of the forgotten man here in terms of opportunity to show what he can do. And then we don't know what Cunning's going to be because with Nosek out, right? So there's a lot of questions. Gregor is I don't know. I think it's possible, Strafasi, that some of the PTO guys may catch on because we've got a little bit of extra space. But I would assume, my assumption would be that we're going to give them 2-way contracts so that we can move them off the roster and get full cap relief. It's such a mess right now trying to figure out the money and all of that. I would not want to be. There's a lot of times I would love to be. There are a lot of times that I would love to be Bill Zito. This ain't one. This ain't one. Like, I think you need like a whole department just to tell him what the math is. Frank says, crazy thoughts. I'm a sick individual, but what about some of the boys that are delinquent but we're not guilty? Oh, I see what you're saying. I don't think the Panthers would be the guys to bring them in. From what I know about Viola. So I have a question for somebody who knows the cap. Because I was watching a video yesterday, and the way that something was explained, how I interpreted it seems like it can't be true. So here's my question. I know that 3.8 whatever million is the maximum recapture on a player that's supposed to be coming back for the playoffs. But is that 3.8? I know that Barkov's making 10 million. The maximum is 3.8. But the way that this person explained it, it made it sound as though any player can get 3.8 million, which can't be correct. The way it was explained in this video, which I don't think is accurate, is that like with Nosek is out, and if you made him out for the full season but not the playoffs, that we could get 3.8 million in relief, even though his salary is only like $1 million. It's 3.8 max. Right. But if his salary is under that, it's only the full salary. I can't remember where I was watching it. I think it was TSN. But the way they made it sound, it was like teams could get extra relief for a guy making $1 million, but they can get 3.8 million. That's the way they made it sound. And I'm like shaking my head going, that can't be right. That can't be right. Because that would be a whole nother loophole that they created, right? Yeah, any player that makes over 3.8, right. All right, that makes sense. I figured that's the way it was, but these days, yeah, Nosek is the 775 savings. Yeah, for now. Well, either way, right? All right, Jameson says, hear me out. Kings fall off a cliff. Kopitar comes to Florida in February, retires a 3-time Stanley Cup champ, signs a one-day contract to retire a King. I mean, they would have to fall off a cliff, though, right? They would have to fall off a cliff for that to happen. Real says, I'm in. Yeah, sure. I just wonder. I wonder what Sidney Crosby has to say about it. Has anybody asked him? I mean, not that he's going to say anything, but like with Kopitar, there's still a chance the Kings are trying to win, right? But Crosby knows the Penguins ain't winning anything. And I wonder if Crosby's attitude might be like, if I could help the franchise out by them acquiring assets, you know what I mean? Maybe he'd consider it. Brace says, if the Kings fall off a cliff, who's going to lose to Edmonton in the first round? Jameson says, but seriously, Teddy Bluger should be a name we would consider. Bottom 6 center, former Cup champ, 1.8 million. Vancouver probably won't move him, though. Yeah. The way I think it's going to play out is I'm sure the Panthers are scouting all over the place right now. And they don't have to make a decision about Barkov, at the very least, until Tkachuk comes back. So let's say they push Tkachuk coming back till second week of January, right? Let's say they do that. They let him take his time, and you get to the second week of January, and the doctors are like, Barkov's on a 6-month pace. You're not trading for anybody. You're gonna take your chances, and that's that. But if they do that, if we don't use Barkov's full 10 million, and then it's just the 3.8, when Tkachuk comes back, I do believe we'll have cap issues. Not the full amount, but if we're 4.5 over now, because Tkachuk was on LTIR. When he comes back, but Barkov goes to LTIR, it's the same amount of relief. So that would put us over when Barkov comes back. Fudge says, do I think we should rush Chucky back if we're off to a slow start? I don't think you'd keep him away. I don't think you could keep him away. If we're off to a slow start, Chucky may feel like he can make the difference. Silva. Hungry says we would be one Nosek over. Right. Yeah, exactly. Now, but that would be the overall roster. But that probably means we would be able to ice a cap compliant team. Right. Braystrand says Chucky plus Nosek on LTIR and not coming back, and we're fine. Yeah. Yeah. Chucky plus Nosek on LTIR. Right. Right. So like we said at the beginning, we have to be cap compliant. The roster that plays in the playoff game has to be cap compliant. But I guess there's an off roster, like you can be over the cap and just not have. It's wild how they did it. It's wild how they did it. I don't know if goodbye Boquist in that situation is how it would have to be, though. Because like I said, the way that they wrote it, you can be over the cap. You just can't ice the team that's over the cap in the playoffs. So I was always like, let's put it this way. The biggest complaint I had about Boquist last year was, why did we give him $1.5 million? Like, it seemed like with everybody else taking really cheap deals, that seemed like a lot of money to pay a guy who hadn't really, So he's going to get a chance to earn that money now, that's for sure. Kachucking around, yeah, I agree with that. Aaron, so if he's scratched, we're good. Yeah, it's you can have the team itself can be as far over the cap, but the roster that you submit to play the game, that has to be cap compliant. So that makes sense. Dante says, do we even know if Nosek will be good this season? And that, my opinion, Dante, was the way that Zito was talking about it. I kind of got the feeling that he's not coming back this year. I could be wrong, but especially if him being on LTIR solves our cap issue, like it seems like a pretty easy choice. But we'll have to wait and see how it all plays out. Real says Boquist fell off after his brother left, and he found it again in the playoffs when we needed him. Yeah, I mean, I don't. It just seemed a bit. The 1.5 seemed a bit high for me in the context of what we're paying some other guys. When you look at what Luosterainen gets. Do I think Boquist can get us 15 to 20 goals? I think 15 is going to be on the high end of that. But we don't know what kind of opportunities he's going to get. Now we know with that line, Rodriguez is going to cause problems. We know Rodriguez is going to go behind the net, cause chaos, and the puck's going to end up out. So Sam Miskevich is going to take shot after shot after shot. And so if Boquist can play well around the net and get some rebounds, maybe that way. That line is a dynamic we really haven't put together in one line yet. So I'm curious to see how they work together. Sir Fossey, yeah, he got 12 last year, but they were so early in the season. I remember I kept bitching and complaining he hadn't scored a goal since like January or something. Kazuma says, from the video I saw from the hockey guy with the new LTIR rules, we don't have any money to get a top guy. If they're going to put Barkov on the LTIR designation that says he can come back from the playoffs, then that's correct. We have no money. if they put him on the LTIR designation that says he's not coming back from the playoffs, then we get his full $10 million salary, and then we would be able to replace him. The problem is that once you make a designation, you can't change it. So we can't put him on technical LTIR until we know for sure if he can or cannot come back. Because once you make it, you can't change it. I agree there. Swaggy needs to bounce back this season for sure. And Swaggy, we've talked about how he plays better in the playoffs and under pressure, and maybe the added pressure of Barkov being out, maybe that will do that for him. Roddy's dealing with something too. Scratched him from tonight's game for precautionary reasons. Is Mott playing? Jeez. I mean, I'm sure he's okay, but, these guys have played a lot of hockey, right? Exactly, because we basically won't get any decision by Zito. When Tkachuk comes back, we got to know what we're doing with Barkov. So when Zito said the other day they don't really have a date, technically he's accurate, but the truth is that when Tkachuk comes back and that money gets added, that's when we need to know which designation Barkov's going on. I would say I'm 95% feeling like he's not coming back. Like Barkov has never been a quick healer, right? When he gets sick, it's 2 weeks. He busts a thumbnail. It's 3 games. It has seemed as though Barkov's been a little bit of a slow healer. Maybe that's precautionary. But then you still get into the weeds of it. If he does make it at 7 months, you're just throwing a guy out there who hasn't played into the second round of the playoffs. And if the Panthers are in the second round of the playoffs at that point, what we've been doing has been working. And so at what point does the juice become worth the squeeze? I think the only way he comes back is if the doctors are like, hey, this dude's like having a miraculous recovery and he could be ready in 6 months. Like, I just don't see the benefit in throwing him out there after that kind of an injury. Just here you go, start game 1 of the second round. Doesn't seem like a good idea. Kushakin says if Barkov is out for the full season, we have 5.5 in cap space to spend. If we can move some other players, we could potentially get a very impactful player. I mean, you could fit Crosby in under that if they retained. But is it worth it? Real says, my biggest worry is Bennett as a top-line center. I like Lundell more as a top-line guy because he's more like Barkov, but I know they don't want to break up the line with Etu and Marchand. Yeah, I'm already a little bit concerned with Marchand in the second line. Give Barkov the Ekblad stuff. Yeah. Hey, it's not a bad idea, Kazuma. It was what, a 22-game suspension, 25-game suspension? So load Barkov up on the goods to where he has this miraculous comeback and he's ready in 5 months. Strong as an ox, right? Then let him take the suspension for the rest of the regular season and then bring his ass back for the playoffs. I think that's a good idea, Kazuma. Yeah. It's only a 20, 25 games, however many games it was. I mean, just saying, it could work. Nearmax says Crosby's going to kill our cap next year if we get him. It depends on how much they retained. Yeah, it could be a problem. There's no doubt. There's no doubt it would be an issue. At that point, the only way before you'd even trade for Crosby is you'd have to go to Bobrovsky and be like, so want to take $5 million? Do you want to take $5 million, Bob? We can get Sidney Crosby. Do you want to take $5 million? Or we can pay you your 10, but we can't get Sidney Crosby. Like, that's the guy you got to go to. And whatever Bob decides is the way it goes, I guess. Barman says, yeah, I agree. Give Barkov all the Yeki juice. Yeah. And the 20-game suspension actually has cap relief. I mean, we're joking about it, but right? Like Barman says, okay, we put Barkov and Kachuk on the juice and fight it out to the playoffs. Give Barkov the bad stuff for a bit, and when he's close to recovery, give him lots of water, clean the system up before they test him. I mean, it's not a bad idea, right? Chadwick says Crosby and Malkin 50% contract, $7.4 million. Yeah, the problem is next year. And that's a true problem. I joke about Bob, but I don't know. And I get a kick out. I mean, of course, we won't need a goalie next year because we'd have a top line of Barkov, Crosby, and Reinhart because somebody's got to play wing. Kachuk says Dubas is dumb enough to make that trade. Yeah, but what are they going to want? No Samoskevich. No Samoskevich. They can have if they were actually going to do it, Crosby had 50% retained for Cooper Black. We'll do that. Right? Yeah. All right. So that's the plan. That's the plan. We give Barkov the juice. We can give them a conditional second rounder. Kazuma says, I think Crosby's too loyal to the Penguins, and I see us getting a decent player at best, but not a top guy. I would probably agree with that. The Crosby stuff is fun, but he probably won't. No, Barber wants to know, is Zito signing Crosby and McDavid next year? No, we got to give Bob. We got to get a Bob extension. We got to pay Mikkola, and we got to pay Samoskevich. And even if the cap goes up 9, if you're going to give Mikkola 4 and Samoskevich 3, that gives you just enough money to eke out the rest of the fourth line because Greer's not signed, Nosik's not signed, Gadjevich isn't signed. So the only other money that's going to come in terms of the cap going up is if Bobrovsky's willing to take $7 million instead of 10. Can we shave a little bit off there, Bubba, to help us out? I mean, taking Crosby sounds fun, but it probably would cost us Mikkola. Let's just be honest there. You know what I mean? And if Sam Miskevich turns into a stud this year, if he goes out there and rips off 25, 30 goals, $3 million ain't going to cut it either. So I think to me, man, like I've been saying, we got 2 cups. I say, F it. That's the team we got. Let's see what happens. That's what I say. I say, F it. Now, maybe if you want to go get somebody like we were talking about, like an Adam Lowry, somebody for some depth and a little bit of extra juice, some fresh legs, okay, I can go with that. But when you get somebody like Crosby who's got term next year, you're blowing up next year's team most likely. Kazuma says, let's say we do get to the finals. Can this team stop Edmonton or Vegas without Barkov? Yes and no. In order. Yes and no. Yeah. Chadwick says Bobrovsky 5 years, $35 million is a solid retirement deal. Do I like Malkin for us? I don't know. I'm trying, and here's why. Because we don't know what this team is going to look like. We don't know what the team is going to look like. We don't know if we're going to get 30 games in and it's like, okay, Lundell is definitely 1C, Bennett is 2C. You're not playing Marchand top line minutes. He's too old. I don't even like him at the second spot. So you could see a situation where as we get later on, Tkachuk comes back, everything could get moved around. You could have Lundell with Tkachuk and Verhaeghe. You could have Bennett with Marchand and Samoskevich. You could have Luostarinen centering the third line. So to me, there's so many questions about how guys are going to slot into their roles and how they're going to perform that I think we just have to wait and see how everybody plays, how health goes, right? How health goes. And I don't think they're going to make any decisions until the last possible second. And I'm sure they're scouting everybody. Real says, I've seen people say get Trocheck, but I can't see a team like the Rangers that is contending giving up a top center like that. That's an interesting thought. I hadn't heard Trocheck. Just have Barkov, just put a Barkov jersey on Lundell. Yeah. Dante says, yeah, Greer, Nosek, Gadjevich, Mikula, Balinskis, Cunnin, Petrie, Bob, Tarasov, and Samo. Right. Yeah. Barman, yeah, I totally agree with you there about that advantage on the third line. Yeah. Raji says, so Crosby isn't signing with the Panthers. How much does Trocheck make? It's a good question. If they got late enough in the season and they weren't doing any good, let's see here. Okay, so he's got, I don't think Trocheck's an answer here. He's got a cap hit of 5.65, and he's signed until 29-30. So he's still got this year and 3 more years at 5.6. Nah. No, that's too rich for my blood. Yeah. Yeah, Aaron says, I don't think Tro fits with the style Maurice demands. Yeah. Yeah, I'll he doesn't have a full no move, right? I don't know. All right, so let's look at what Hungary is saying. One wild and crazy guy. I don't know about that. He's asking if Barkov can still be at practice helping to coach. I don't think so. I'm sure that the league has some kind of rules about that. Okay, well, you want Alex? All right. What do we got here? 6'4", 29, 6'4", 219. Played his plenty of games. Now, who's asking this question? Hold on a second. Hungry. Okay, so you're saying now, but he's strictly a winger, right? Hungry. He's strictly a winger. I mean, yeah, dude had 36 goals last year. Yeah, he must be a winger because his face-off percentage is terrible. Well, where are you putting him? I understand, but I guess my question would be, if we're healthy, Hungry, where are you putting them? Or are you saying, if Barkov's not coming back, but where are you putting them when Kachuk comes back? Crosby wants 4th and 5th cups, and he and Marchand are tight from the 2000. Maybe. Chris Wilson, that's definitely a possibility. Yeah, the Buffalo GM may hang up on Zito, right? Next to Reinhart. So, Bennett, Reinhart for Hagee. No, Bennett, Reinhart, Tuck. Who's coming out, though? So Hungry. If the lineup right now, if they're healthy, is Bennett, Reinhart for Hagee, Lundell, Luosterainen, Marchand, Rodriguez with Kachuk and Samoskevich. Who are you taking out? Are you moving Luosterainen? Are you moving Luosterainen and putting him at 3C instead of Rodriguez? Hey, Gator. Yeah, how about them Dolphins? Kazuma, did you hear that they didn't add stem cells? I thought the stem cell was a treatment that you go and get afterwards. I thought that's what that was. Yeah, no, Reinhardt is a natural center. So Hungry. So you would be moving Luosterainen to 3C. You put Tuck on that other wing. So then you'd have Luosterainen, Kachuk, and Samoskevich. And then where does Erod go? You put Erod on the 4th line again? I don't think they're going to add a C Gator. I think you're just going to see guys be a little bit more vocal. Yeah, I thought the stem cells was injections post-surgery. Yeah. Keep Erod as the Swiss Army knife. I understand. So then you would still have Bennett, Lundell, Luosterainen. It's not a bad idea. It's not a bad idea. I won't disagree with that. I can roll with that. Hey, thank you, Chris. Thank you, bud. Thank you, buddy. He says, hey, Jaws, sorry I haven't been around. Wife had the baby, 8 pounds, 1 ounce. Congratulations, man. C-section. Congrats. Thank you. Appreciate that, Chris. Congrats on your end, too, man. Dang. That's a big kid. Good job. Yeah, C-sections. Yeah, that makes a whole big difference, doesn't it? Appreciate that, brother. Hey, Pente. Yeah, I know a lot of people are disappointed with him not being able to captain the Finnish team. It is a shame, no doubt, that this happened like this for him. That's one part we haven't talked about a whole lot. Yeah, I'm sure he's significantly disappointed. And are they going to do this again in 4 years? I guess he'd still be young enough, right? Are they going to do the Olympics again in 4 years? That's a good question. Who does Finland make the captain now? That's a good question. Huh. I don't know if Lundell is vocal enough. You're going with Granlund? Yeah, that's a good question. Hey, Mythical says, are we looking at the wild card this year? Do we have enough depth to get above that, considering we lost Barkov for the season and Chucky for a couple of months? That's going to depend on Montreal and Ottawa. I don't necessarily feel like I haven't changed my expectations for the team, but I was still considering the possibility that we'd be hovering at that third spot again. It'd be interesting to see as we get closer, as things go, if they decide to angle for any one particular position or not. Like last year, they made it obvious they didn't care about winning the division, Zuma says, we went from being at the top of the mountain to worrying about if we will make it there again. Well, I mean, somewhat that's true. We're still the champs until we're not. And I'll say it again. When we were down to Toronto 2-0, and they go up 3-1, we looked toast. You know what I mean? We really looked toast. So I'm not counting these guys out. Hey, thank you, Zach. Thank you, buddy. He says, sorry for being late. Wanted to get my thoughts real quick. So sorry if I double up on something already said. The answer lies within the team. Yeah. Oh, no. Kazuma says, I'm more devastated that Barkov got hurt than being rejected by the girl I asked recently. Yeah. That tracks. That tracks. Don't let a rejection from a woman ruin your day. It gets to us all at some point, one way or another, right? Except Trey. Trey's never been rejected by a woman, but that's a different story. Pente, Granlund is always classy, and our younger generation really respects him and look up to him. Yeah, I would agree it's probably going to be Granlund. Just what a difference, man. What a difference. I wonder now, probably won't happen, but I just wonder if the Panthers are considering, like, saying, hey, maybe our guys shouldn't play in the Olympics. Like, it's such a – we can't afford anymore, Am I way behind on the chat? I don't know, Pente. Is it not loading? Because your comment saying I'm way behind in the chat is the last comment I have except for Real Cinema. Is there a bunch of comments? No, 1232. Did it skip me or something? No, I think I'm caught up. Okay. Yeah, Mythical Riz just said now, Jaws, I don't see you behind. Sometimes StreamYard will get glitchy that way. That's all. Real says I'll still be at the top of the mountain as long as we don't lose to the Leafs or Lightning in the playoffs or in the final to a Canadian team. I'll grant you that. Fossey says, I get this weird feeling we will win the Atlantic or get the wild card. I see what you're saying. Yeah, I'll agree with that. I think they're either going to just blow. It's going to look different. And it might be to our advantage. Not that losing Barkov is to our advantage. But if we have to change what we're doing, the league has been spending 2 years trying to figure out what we do and how to stop it. And now we're being forced to maybe change and do some things differently. Might work to our advantage in some moments. Real. Yeah, that's what I figured. He says there's zero chance they talk any of those guys out of Olympics play. You're probably right. Yeah. Zuma says when she rejected me, I just said, okay. When Barkov got hurt, I went and lied down and cried myself to sleep. Oh, man, you poor dude. Oh, jeez. Look, you'll eventually meet the right one. You might be 54 years old when it happens, but eventually. Hey, thank you, Zach. Thank you, buddy. Thank you, buddy. Thank you, Zach. He says Reinhardt goes down in the Eastern Conference Final. Who steps up? Boquist. Get him up top with Reinhardt and Erod. Samuel Bennett, Swaggy, line 2. Rerun the Lundell, Lusterwein, and Marchand line. Keep our solid fourth liners rotating. Boquist did he did a good job for the one game, and then he got moved down. I don't think Boquist is a guy that you can throw up top on a consistent nightly basis. I think he's a gamer and can give you a game here or there, but I'm not sure. And at that point, I just don't know that top line is going to be physical enough with those guys. But I think the bigger thing is that I don't think Reinhardt really wants to play center. I think he would, but you never know. It's entirely possible that at some point Maurice tries that. He said he's going to try a lot of different combinations. So it wouldn't surprise me if he gets that chance at some point during the game. Bender says Barkov should be an assistant GM when he's injured. Yeah, Kachuk could have both legs broken and still try to play in the Olympics. That's for sure. Bente still thinks there's a 1% chance Sasha comes back before the Olympics. Oh boy, that would be like 4 months, right? October, November, December, January. That would be like 4 months. I don't know about that, Bente. That might be but 1% is 1%. Razi, I was at work when the Barkov news broke. I could feel depression all over. Yeah. Donna and I were out of the house, and Kyle was dog sitting Leia. And I got the text from Kyle, and poor Donna, because I just started freaking out like, oh no, no. And she thought something was wrong with the dog. She thought Kyle had texted me that there was something wrong with the dog, because it wasn't my joking face. It was like, oh no. And so of course I told her what had happened. Hungry says there's a hell of a lot worse. There's a lot worse than having to play center for some games, right? Zach says a Phil Boquist speed and Erod hockey IQ can combine with Reinhardt's scoring ability for a sneaky good line. Offensively, I agree with you. But I'm not so sure about Reinhardt with Rodriguez and Boquist when you're having to match lines with like McDavid and whatnot. That would be my concern. Yeah, I agree with you, Hungry. David, yeah, we're doing the Dolphins game tonight. We're gonna do the Dolphins Jets game tonight. Can't miss that because maybe it'll end in a tie. Hungry, yeah, Donna was I mean, she was disappointed in but she was happy it wasn't the dog. My face must have turned white because she was freaking out. Uvis for 1C. Zuma says we'll have to change our game to be more defensive since I can't see this team now going all out to try to score 6 goals. Honestly, I think it's the opposite, Kazuma. I think it's the opposite. I feel like we're going to allow a few more goals and we're going to have to lean into the offensive ability of some of these guys. I think we might have to outscore some teams some nights. I could be wrong, but I think we lost a lot on defense with Barkov out. Yeah, I don't think anybody had the Giants, David. Jeez. Did not have the Giants. Nope. There goes my picks for the week. It's okay. Now we won't be doing the Canes game tonight. And then when do we play? I think it's just the Canes. When do we play? Let me look at the rest of the schedule. Because I don't get the games anyway. Unfortunately. We've only got the 3 games. So we got the Canes tonight. And then tomorrow is the Lightning. And then Thursday is the Lightning. And then Saturday is the Lightning. That's fantastic. Are any of those games on any kind of TV? ESPN. Tomorrow's game is on ESPN. So maybe we'll get to see the game tomorrow night. Not going to do the game tonight because Dolphins are playing. If it was a regular season Panthers game, we would do the Panthers. But since it's preseason, then what about Thursday night? That's also saying it's being streamed on ESPN. All right, so that's good. And then the last preseason game is Saturday, and I'm going to assume that's also on ESPN. Okay. All right, so then as long as I can make sure that we're going to get the games, I guess they're saying tonight's on ESPN as well. All right, so we'll have to see how all that goes, but I don't think game starts at 6. Yeah, no. No, we're saving it for regular season. Let me blow this chat back up here real quick. Real says we'll win every game 2-1. Paul Maurice's dream. I don't know. Zuma says, wouldn't it be better to work on our defense and not get gassed and ourselves out trying to outscore teams? I mean, I understand what you're saying, and I don't disagree with what you're saying in theory, but I kind of feel like in practice, we may get forced into outscoring teams. We'll see. guys have played a lot of hockey. You know what I mean? And the way that this system is, it's actually more physically taxing playing the style of defense that we play because the forwards are up and down the ice all night. On the nights when the forwards aren't doing that heavy work, we tend to give up more goals because the forwards aren't there to play defense. And so it might be a situation where we end up having to score more goals. I think in theory you're correct in terms of it would make more sense to try to shut things down a little bit more, but that might actually expend more energy than the other way. Bob is in net tonight. Zach says, last I'll say on the Boquist, Reinhardt, Erod line, you don't have to match them up against other teams' top line. Lundy, Marshy, Lucian, I feel, played a master class of defensive game, second only to Barkov. Well, at home, no. At home, when you get the last change, you can do that. On the road, in the playoffs, that could be a little bit of an issue. But we'll see. I mean, Boquist is going to get his opportunity for sure. You know, guys are going to get dinged. He's going to be all up and down the lineup. I mean, Rodriguez is out tonight for precautionary reasons, right? So they may put Boquist at 3C tonight. So it's good to have these guys that can play all the positions and do well for you. I just don't know if that's a top line that you could go into the playoffs with in hopes of winning a cup. Mythical says, I wonder if Mackey steps up his play and how he responds to his playing time this season. So according to Bennett and Marchand, they both were glowing reviews of Sam Miskevich. They both said he looks fantastic out there. So I'm really curious to see how he steps up exactly. And Barkov being out kind of puts Maurice in the spot where you kind of at this point, you just let him play, Paul. Let him make his mistakes. Let him play. Dave says, love y'all. Cats are a defense-first team. We are a grind-them-down team, and none of that will change. We'll see. I don't disagree with any of that except for the none of that will change stuff. Some going to change. We're not going to duplicate the results with Barkov without Barkov. Can't do it. You can do it for a little bit, but eventually teams figured out that was Scott Mitchell behind center and not Dan Marino. Let's see who remembers what I'm talking about. Eventually, the defenses adjusted and realized, oh, that dude, that's not Marino. That's Scott Mitchell. And then we never won another game and missed the playoffs. So I think there's going to be a lot of chess match going back and forth. And I trust our coaches, that's for sure. Real says Paul has to play Mackey now because he doesn't have a choice. And that'll just make the Penguins want him even more when Zito calls for Crosby. Dave says, but we aren't dropping off from Marino to Mitchell. Our other guys are also great. Well, on the top two lines, no. But Lundell, Marchand, and Luosterainen as the third line versus Rodriguez, Boquist, and Sam Miskevich on the third line. I mean, even that's what I'm going by. Is not necessarily the top two lines, but that is a completely different planet on the third line. And we had the luxury of being able to, if Barkov was killing penalties or if they had a long shift and Barkov and Reinhardt were out there a lot, we had the luxury of putting a Lundell line out there and really not getting much drop off. Now We don't have that luxury. It's going to look different. That's all. I think, road teams might at some point start to change their, try to match up things a little bit better. And Dave says, I'm just saying that while it absolutely sucks, especially on faceoffs, you must adapt, and we have the guys. That I agree. What you're saying about adapting, I agree. And I'm just saying that I'm not entirely convinced that our adaptation is going to be less goals. That's all. I kind of feel like the adaptation is going to be maybe a little bit more aggressive on offense. I could be wrong. And yeah, we need a face-off guy bad. That's what was Rodriguez on face-offs. Mythical says NHL has Barkov ranked as 4 for centers. Who do they have ahead of him? What's Rodriguez? What was his face-off percentage last year? Because this is the one part where we're going to have to get him better. So 45%. Now, the year before he was 50. The year before he was just about 50 with Colorado. So last year was actually his worst year in faceoffs in a while. 45% isn't the whole end of the world. Where was Lundell? Lundell was at 53%. And he's been consistently, the last 2 years, he's done really well. When's the last time we saw Luce? Because we've been talking about Luosterainen. He played 4C that 1 year. I don't know how many faceoffs he's taken. So the year that he played the President's Trophy season, the year he played at 4C that whole year, he was at 40%. Now, last year he was at 45.2, but I don't know how many draws he actually took. The guy that we don't have, where's Bennett? This is the bigger piece. Bennett was at 46%. And that's pretty consistent for him. Bennett has pretty much consistently been 46, 45, 47, 47, 46%. So when you talk about comparing and you get the Barkov, 56%. So 1 out of 10 draws, it's a 10% difference. There was nobody killing it other than Lundell and Barkov, that's for sure. They have McDavid, McKinnon, Draisaitl ranked above Barkov. What's Kunin on faceoff? Good question, real. Yeah, I certainly would put, if you want to put McDavid there, whatever. McKinnon, I might understand, but I don't. With Draisaitl, I don't know. That's good question about Kunin. Kunin. It sounds better Kunin, but I guess it's Kunin. Yeah. Not great. So in his fuller seasons, because of course with a shorter season. But 82 games with Nashville, 44%. 77 games with San Jose, 46%. 63 games with San Jose, 47%. Last year, he only played 12 games with the Jackets after, I guess, he was moved, and that was at 40%. So 46-ish%. So, I mean, it's not the end of the world, right? It's certainly not Barkov-esque numbers, but right now, technically, the only center that we have on the team that's expected to be at over 50% would be Lundell. So, that's it's a bit of an issue. But those guys don't just grow on trees, right? What's just for shits and giggles? Keep these on at this point. We only got 10 minutes left. I'm curious where Crosby is at this point. I'm curious where his faceoff percentage is right now. Same as Barkov's, 57%. It's actually gotten better over the last couple of years. I wonder if it's just experience or is he taking less faceoffs? Did his time on ice go down? No. He was at about 53, 52% for the most times. And even in his prime, he was close to 55 or 52. But all of a sudden, the last 2 years, 58 and 57%. So he's actually gotten better, So, yeah. Crosby for Cooper Black. Yeah, Strafossi, our face-off percentage is going to take a big dip. Real says, why don't we just draft another top-line generational talent two-way center? We're stupid. Yeah, so about that, Real, you see, there's this thing that you have to do in order to get one of those guys, and it's called suck for quite some time. Hey, Great White. When I trade Barkey for Crosby, how about this? Just for 1 year. We trade Barkov for Crosby now, but then before next season, we swap back. We swap back. So it's just Barkov for Crosby now, win a cup, and then during the offseason, we just flip him right back. Crosby can retire as a Penguin, and all is well in the world. Hungry says, unless you're the Patriots and pick one up in the 7th round. Yeah. Would I trade Erod for Crosby? Yeah, I think I would. Because that solves the cap issue. Or no, it does it for next year. No, we still have a cap. They've got to take 50% of his salary. Trade Bob. Yeah, on paper, sure, Rodriguez for Crosby would be an insane steal. Sure. We'd have to throw in picks. There's not going to be a 1-for-1 deal. But we'd still have cap issues next season because of Crosby's contract. In Barkov's current state, yeah, trade him for Crosby right now, and then we get him back after the season. That's all. It's probably not legal. Not yet, Trey. Lundell's percentage was like 53, Strafossi. He's the only guy we have right now on the team that we can consistently count on to be above 50%. Everybody else is in that 46 to 47% bubble. So, no, I mean, you hate to move Rodriguez anyway, too, but there's too much to consider next year cap-wise. Just never know, man. Just never know what Zito's going to pull off. It ain't happening, Trey. Trey, it's not going to be Sam Iskevich. Samoskevich ain't going anywhere. If if the Penguins are going to play hardball with Crosby, we'll give them Cooper Black. Just don't let them talk to Buffalo about Devon Levi, and we should be fine. Exactly, because Zito will have to pull the biggest magic trick of his career. It's like, I mean, it's just like watching a movie that we don't know the ending to. It's just going to be fun. Hey, thank you, Great White. Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother. Thank you, buddy. He says, I can't wait for Panthers hockey. Thank you, brother. This week, so I'm doing the Dolphins recap tonight, and then the recap room is getting rehabilitated. That's what we'll call it, because I want to be ready for, I mean, it's next Tuesday, the first game of the year. We have something coming out later on this week. Something fun. My NHL preview should be here Wednesday, Thursday as well. I'm not changing what I was going to say. Exactly, Mythical. The Barkov out would lose a lot of leverage, but in Zito we trust. I can't do anything but have fun with it at this point, and I'm dying to see what happens. Right? We may get some tweet in the middle of January. I just got news that Alexander Barkov is way ahead of schedule and looks good for a mid-March return. It could happen. It could happen. Right? Anything is possible at this point. Honestly, I don't know. There's a part of me that says just let him rest and recover and come back next year. You know, Bryce says maybe Pablo Vuri could come out of retirement to play with the Panthers. He might be a bit slow at this point. Well, we'll see. Thank you again, Great White. Appreciate you, brother. So what else? There was some. Oh yeah, for those of you who missed it earlier, I guess Rodriguez is out tonight. Maurice had mentioned he wanted to play them against Carolina because he wanted to see them, how they're going to fit together. And I guess this thing where our last 3 games are against Tampa, so hopefully it doesn't get physical. Zoom says Finland has a great stem cell institute. We need Barkov to go there ASAP. I would assume, right, that whatever technology is out there, that they're going to use it. But that's a big man. That's a big dude. And you just can't, you don't want to take a chance, to me, coming back early because, excuse me, if he pops it again in April, you're probably looking at a full another season next year. You could ruin a guy's career if you bring him back too early. It's different with Tkachuk. Tkachuk is like a cyborg. Just cut off his legs and he'll go out there and skate on his knees. You know what I mean? Like, it's different with Chucky. You can't keep him off the ice. Gator, he says, how the hell did he get injured even before preseason? So when you watch the video, to me, my unprofessional, opinion is that he must have had some kind of fraying already there. He digs in really, I wouldn't say he digs in really hard with his skates, but the knee just buckles. And generally speaking, when you get an injury like that, it tends to be a little bit of wear and tear, a little bit of, maybe he thought he had some tendonitis or something in that knee. There might have been something going on in there. Or the alternative is, and this happens, especially with Achilles, like it just if you just apply the perfect exact amount of pressure and the perfect exact motion, bing, it's just the body is just made. The body is not made to do what professional athletes do. They do it anyway. The body is not designed for a lot of stuff that these guys do. And, he just kind of digs in a little bit, goes to turn, and then he said, nope. He said, nope. Zuma says maybe all that partying hurt him as well and not enough rest and too much alcohol. I mean, there's no way to while I can't disagree with what you're saying, obviously you want to take care of your body. My assumption would be he takes care of himself outside of all of that. So, but I hear the point that you're trying to make. It's hard, man, because if you've got, an injury like that, if it's not bothering you, or if you just got a little bit of, my knees, a little bit of soreness. I get this little bit of a sore spot in my knee every once in a while. Like, what are you going to do? You're going to start giving all these guys, preemptive MRIs. Like, you come in the first week of camp and the first thing they do is MRI your knees and your Achilles and your shoulders or whatnot to see if you've got any damage that is cumulative over the years. Do teams do that? Do they need to do that? I don't know. It'd be expensive for the team. And what would you do anyway? Right? What would you do if they did take an MRI of Barkov's knee and they told him, well, you got a little bit of fraying on your MCL. Let's monitor it. Let's get some stem cells. Maybe that's something they'll consider at some point. Is part of the exam, part of beginning a training camp is just simply let's check out what's going on inside your body as well. Don't know. Great White has Miss Draws moved in. Yeah. So, hey, thank you, Great White. Appreciate that, brother. So we still have to get her stuff from where she was living before. She's brought most of her stuff here. But like her pictures and some of her clothes and whatnot is still there. We need to take the van over there and find a cooler day because it's a lot of work. But she's been moved in. Like, she hasn't gone back there. She's been moved in here since, I believe, August 1st. You go August 1st. Sounds about right. Yeah, somewhere in there. So we're hoping, hey, Terrace, that was the next thing. Are we invited to the wedding? Our hope. Remember last year when everybody would ask me when we're coming down, and I said, well, when God decides to give me the money to come down, we'll show up. And then Magda called me up and said, hey, I'll pay for you guys to come down. So our hope is that somewhere within February, late January, February. My parents' anniversary is February 14th. It's their 50th anniversary. So we might end up going down there. We're hoping, if finances go right, that we can do it there in Florida in January or February. We have to figure out the legalities of like being married in Maryland, but getting married in Florida, like, does it matter? And we got to look at all of that. And, right now I don't have the money to make the trip, but we'll see. We'll see. But that's the hope. But I would say that whenever it does happen, it's like 99.9% sure going to happen in Florida. So, yeah. We'll have a live streamed wedding. Gator says if he doesn't come back, the Panthers may have to train them, especially after all those knee problems. They might just get rid of him altogether. Yeah, Great White. Yeah, we're live streaming, right? Fly Guy. Yeah. Cap is going up. It's going up about 8.5, 9 million. But we got guys to sign. Mikkola, Samaskevich. None of the 4 flying guys are signed. And we got to have an extension for Bobrovsky. Tarasov isn't signed. So the cap is going up. That money's pretty much spent. That money is pretty much spent. GoFundMe for the wedding. Well, we'll see how it goes. As you've seen, I only like to do something like that in like the real case of an emergency. You know what I mean? Which is what I ended up in this summer that y'all helped me out. The only reason we're still here doing this is you guys' generosity, but I don't want to overextend that. You know what I mean? Gator says he might not be the same after the surgery. Right. That's true. I mean, it could take him a while to become himself, right? Trey says Bob is signing for 8.25. We might need him to take 6, though. He ain't gonna take 6. I'm just talking crap now. 8.25 would seem about right. Sure. I forget why you got to that number, but I remember there was a reason that you got there. So, all right, everybody, I gotta roll. Colin and I will be live on the football channel tonight. I had a dream the other night that the Dolphins lost. I'm just saying. I had a dream the other night that the Dolphins lost. It would make for good content. If the Dolphins lose, that means McDaniel's getting fired, right? Right? I see Sorokin, Otter, and Swayman make that. That makes sense, Trey. So we'll do that tonight, and then as long as I can get the games on TV, we'll start with the Tampa games. We'll start getting ready to cover some hockey here, and of course, we'll be ready to go at the beginning of next week. We've got some definite content coming up here in the next few days, I should say. Great White. Yeah, this is the last year of Bob's contract. Yeah, I was hoping we'd already see an extension. He may get forced into signing an extension. If Barkov's out and we have to bring in somebody, we may need to know what Bob's number is going to be next year if we get somebody with term and there's considerations on next year's cap. So, all right, everybody. Appreciate all the love, support, all the super chats. Cannot thank you all enough. Colin and I will see you tonight, and I shall see you all mañana at 11.